Hey everyone. In this lecture, I'm going to give you an overview of what the software development lifecycle is and why it's important for you to realize the different methodologies available within it. So the first step is to realize business analysts are here to make changes within companies, right? We know that. From a previous lecture, we dove in and understood that business analysts are there to define the needs, recommend the solutions, and deliver value, deliver a change. The software development lifecycle is ultimately the processes in which that change takes place. There's a lot of different methodologies that have grown throughout time, utilizing different industries and for different types of projects. So what I want to do is make sure I give you the overview of all those different methodologies. That way, regardless of what methodology the company you get hired at uses, or the company you currently work for uses, you at least have a good understanding of what that methodology means, the pros and the cons to it, as well as the other methodologies that are available out there and what they utilize. Most companies have one methodology that they stick with. Every once in a while you'll have kind of two different methodologies based on the kind of team you're with, but for the most part, companies will go with one methodology and that'll be their kind of go-to methodology as they work through. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. The first thing is there's a very common misconception and rightfully so. So there's a term of software development lifecycle, SDLC, and systems development lifecycle, SDLC. Kind of confusing when the acronym's the same and people refer to them both as SDLC. But there are some pretty key differences as we kind of look at them. Got a nice Venn diagram here. So SDLC versus SDLC. In the inner circle, you're going to see the software development lifecycle. Software development lifecycle is walking through the different phases of requirements and designing, developing, testing, deployment, and then maintaining that software. So really that's a more confined type of life cycle, because it's all about creating a software that will help enable that change, that will help deliver that value. The systems development lifecycle encompasses all of the software development lifecycle stages, but includes some additional things like managing the people and the processes, the physical architecture, handling all of the training, and the organizational announcements about that particular software development lifecycle. So as you kind of look at this, just have a clear understanding of it. When you hear software development lifecycle, which is what we're going to be talking about today, we're looking at it in a streamlined of implementing or changing a particular software application or suite that will help to enable that change and will deliver that value at the end of the project. The systems development lifecycle is more of the big picture. That's encompassing the whole thing, not only the software, but also how are we going to deliver that to our people? Who's it all affecting? And making sure that they have necessary training and architecture in place to handle it. So we're talking about the software development lifecycle in this particular lecture. So a software development lifecycle is the process used to plan, create, test, and deploy an information system. So that's very important for you to understand, is this isn't just about going out there and deploying something. There are steps that you need to work through. Plan, create, test, and then deploy. So that's what we're going to be working through with all the different methodologies. The general steps for a software development lifecycle, and again, these change a little bit based on the methodology you look at, maybe the order changes, or how many times they're hit on in a particular project. But the key thing is the first step is gathering requirements. You need to understand the business need, and you need to understand the user requirements. You need to understand what ultimately needs to happen in order to produce the greatest value. Understanding what their current process is, their current systems, understanding what that to-be system looks like, and being able to do gap analysis to fill that in. You then want to design a solution to fill that gap ultimately, whether that's changing the current software or buying a piece of software and configuring it to meet your needs, or maybe even custom building that software. You need to design a solution that meets those needs. The third step is going through and developing that, doing coding and changes, whether it's actual coding, whether it's configuration. There's development that's going to be needed to make that software work for that company and to realize the benefits that they're looking to achieve. The fourth step is deploying. So software is no good until you roll it out to users. And deploying it is giving it to users in a production, a live environment, and having them utilize the system. So now they're working through and using that system, and that company's starting to realize those benefits and the reasons that system was put into place. And then the fifth and final stage is just maintaining it. A software system, there's going to be bugs that are brought up, but more commonly, there's going to be changes that the business is that's going through, that then there has to be some maintenance to the software package to keep up with those changes and make sure that the software continues to meet the business's ever-evolving needs. So some of the methodologies we're going to talk about are the waterfall methodology, spiral methodology, the incremental model, prototyping, and then two different agile methodologies, the Scrum model and the rapid application deployment, also known as RAD. So those are the key methodologies we're gonna touch on and make sure you have a good understanding of. So the question that I get asked all the time, what methodology is the best, right? There's got to be one that's better than all the others. And the truth of the matter is it's not that easy. The methodology needs to fit the business, and it needs to fit the particular project and the project team. So as we work through every methodology, we'll go through a dive into exactly how that methodology works, and then we'll also talk about the pros and the cons of the methodology and when it's best used, by what companies, also by what project teams, and what are those key components. So that way you're able to help understand what methodology is the best based on the particular need of that business and that project.